So I'm noticing that we're almost, without awareness, couching self-trust in this idea of congruence and reliability. But like when I think about, but I don't take an audit necessarily of the self. When I think about like my competence, like I never doubt myself that I can come up with good ideas, or I can come into a brainstorming session or have creative things come from my mind. I lead with extroverted intuition. We've nicknamed it exploration. And I have complete and total, in fact, I have got too much trust in that. I probably over trust myself there, maybe when I shouldn't. Maybe that's a little out of balance in a way. But I don't think so. I mean, that I'm open to that, but I don't think I trust myself there too much. I don't trust that I will do the wrong thing, like my integrity or my morals won't come through for me. I never doubt that I won't do the moral or ethical thing in how I've determined my core values. Never question it. But I do doubt things, like as in ENFP preferences, things that are in more of my weaker areas, like my effectiveness, 10-year-old ability to get things done on a timeline, stay true to a commitment I've made to execute on this external marker. Also tracking details with my introverted sensing, 3-year-old inferior process of memory. We've nicknamed it memory. I don't have a lot of self-trust that I'm going to be able to do those things. So I wonder if there's a pattern emerging in self-trust that our cognition is kind of schismed here. And maybe we're talking about it because both of us have this like tracking and timeline focus. But I wonder if other people that have that as a strength actually lack self-trust in other areas of their cognition or life.
So I think this is bleeding over into, and the whole purpose of the selves was to clean, slice them as much as humanly possible. It's
Absolutely.
a very introverted thinking or accuracy conversation, honestly.
And by the way, if you haven't listened to the whole series, the last few episodes, go back and listen because we're kind of building information as it goes.
Right. Yeah. And there is some spillover into that concept of certainty and uncertainty that we talked about, which is that our first two functions are a place of certainty. That first function in particular, it's a place of overconfidence generally. By the time we get to our third function, we're feeling a lot less certain. So we usually need other people's approval to go, no, yeah, you did it right. And so then we have this overcompensating energy there, which is like, I did it right? Like, look at all the ways I've done it well. And then the fourth function, that inferior 3-year-old function, is a place of deep uncertainty.
Yeah.
And for both of us, we share the same 3-year-old or inferior. So yeah, we're not going to have a lot of trust in our ability to track things,
of course,
and account for them.
And we recorded a whole podcast about that.
Right.
Personality types and uncertainty, where we address that directly.
Exactly. I think trust is, all of these are related but adjacent to each other, or at least I'm pretending they are, because the purpose of the series is actually not to necessarily get further into type theory. It's to use type as a bridge of self-awareness, as we mentioned in the very first of the series. We're trying to get access points or on-ramps to self-awareness. How am I operating? So in some ways, this is almost like, I don't know, like water wings, right?
Yeah.
It's not really a way of swimming, but it's a way of sort of hovering around the topic and going, what really is going on here, right? So it's just it's training wheels to some extent. And I actually do think that these functions can give us very deep access to how we're cognitively wired naturally and the things we tend to pay attention to. So I think that they are solid on-ramps. When I call them water wings, I don't want to undervalue them. But at the same time, this is not like, this is how it works in type theory. It's more like, here are the challenges we have in understanding ourselves and gaining greater self-awareness. So let's take this aspect of self-awareness and filter it through a concept of type and see what we can come up with.
Absolutely. And I think that there's value in clean slicing these ideas like trust versus certainty in order to understand them, but they really do all work in tandem in our lives. Like our experience isn't, well, now I'm in the category of self-trust today, and tomorrow I'll be in the category of self-certainty. Like, it's all happening simultaneously. We just isolate them to talk about them.
Right, exactly. So I think...
So basically what you're saying is we're not going to go through 16 types, type by type, and apply this to each type. We're going to find some patterns and principles that you listening or watching can reflect on and apply it to your own life.
Right.
That's basically what you're trying to say.
Yeah, it's unlikely that we're going to talk about self-trust in all 16 types. That said, there are probably a couple different cognitive access points that might get us a little closer. And I think it's unsurprising that your definition or your relationship to self-trust is more through the lens of introverted feeling or authenticity. For the most part, it sounds like it.
Mm-hmm.
And mine is introverted thinking or accuracy. And I think that's twofold. First, there are preferred judging functions. So they're the strongest ones. They're the ones that we tend to reference more often. And also they're introverted evaluative functions. They like go inside and they go, what do I think of myself in this way? What is my evaluation on that? They're judging. So I think that to some extent, well, I wouldn't be surprised if self-trust for all types in some ways hinges on our relationship to our introverted judging function. Now, if that's fourth function for you, if you're an EJ type, don't panic. I think you can still have very solid self-trust.
Yeah.
But it might be a little more difficult to determine the very, I don't know, like fleshed out or very filleted out definitions of it. It might be really simple, right? The further down a function is, the more simple the definitions around that become. So it might be actually much more simple for an EJ type to go, this is how self-trust looks for me. If I meet that criteria, done. If it's higher up, you might have a lot more fidelity in it. And also you might know when your self-trust is getting eroded.